Generally, you need abilities that just do damage.
Yeah.
Or CC.
So anyway, we've just seen a lock-in of Kennen here for Tolkien, something that he was incredibly impactful on last week. Actually, one of the only top laners that tends to pick up Kennen as a prioritization as opposed to a counter pick, and Tolkien's going to get his hands on that. It actually makes the top lane pick kind of awkward for Sensei.
I think one of the key things is Jace is banned out, right? And you see that Kennen-Jace matchup is kind of like... It's almost like, it feels like every Worlds we see that kind of matchup coming out. It's a very, I feel like it's a Korean kind of matchup because it's so much down to mechanics. And with Jace banned out, Kennen really doesn't have that many hard matchups.
No, you know, you kind of maybe get put under pressure by Aurelia. Aurelia classically has been one of the better picks into Kennen in the top lane, so maybe Avril brings out Aurelia here. It looks like Brixton's going to be going for the Orianna, and Ashe will be the final lock-in for Inax. It's going to be a lot of pressure on Jokerism, who's actually got his signature champion in the form of Sivir. We always make a meme about it, but genuinely, Jokerism very good at Sivir in general. They need to have some sort of hard engage onto the Ashe, though. I feel like Inax just isn't getting punished enough. And they are going to think about Tahm Kench, and maybe I said that Lucchesi was maybe a more meta-orientated mid laner, but looks like he's thinking about Vel'Koz. I'm not going to say until he locks it in.
Yeah, I was going to say let's not touch on that until it's actually locked in. I'd be surprised to see it, but not astounded. You know,
no,
it's not that far from. It's not that far-fetched, but
realms of possibility.
Yeah, exactly. Looking over towards Sensei's next pick, though. They have to have a tanky top laner, surely. Looking at their composition right now, they are pretty darn squishy. With the Braum there as well. Actually, Rise.
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, we didn't want to think about the Vel'Koz really until it was locked in. And that is something that I know Lucchesi is very practiced on. So it makes a lot more sense for him to pick up the Rise in this situation. Orcs is going to be on Nami as well. Something that was banned out consistently in the last series. And Nami has found her way into the meta now. You know, as one of those signature support champions. I believe she's had a lot of impact in Worlds as well. So she's very oppressive. And combined with the Sivir ultimate, you've got a great set of engage tools coming through. But as a last champion here for Sensei, I think I actually wouldn't be too averse to seeing an Aurelia, you know. Genuinely wouldn't be completely struck off by seeing an Aurelia in the top lane, because I feel like any tanky top laner is going to get hard punished by Kennen. Generally, you don't have any ranged tanky champions, so Kennen is going to punish anybody, so you need to have someone that's not going to get completely annihilated by him in that top lane.
Would you consider just going with a Poppy again, just because you can kind of survive those matchups?
No, he's thinking about the Maokai, which in the way you say it is all about surviving. He's got a lot of sustain if he goes Grasp of the Undying and has that passive on. It's actually going to be very difficult, especially once Spectre's Cowl comes through.
It's just like that feel when Ivan isn't unlocked yet in the tournament, so you just go for
the closest
Ivan 1.0.
Yeah, we just went for the beta version of Ivan, and now now you've got him. This is an interesting one actually for me, picking up the Maokai. Now we do not see Maokai that often.
No.
However, he is pretty good into Kennen. You know, he will have that AoE damage reduction for his team. Once he picks up Spectre's Cowl, Kennen's going to have a difficult time killing him. And Maokai always has one of the best sustains in the top lane. It's someone who we don't see too often because they're just better picks. But into Kennen, maybe we see Maokai start to have a resurgence, you know, grow from those roots upwards once more.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see whether we will be able to... I mean, realistically, Maokai in the top lane, you know, you've got basically unlimited sustain.
Yeah, you still get punished by Kennen. If Tolkien is going to be good about this, pending no serious pressure from Tyrion, Tolkien should be able to still harass him out of lane. But as the game progresses, once Spectre's Cowl is built up, then... Sorry, I just saw your thumb.
I was just on the edge of the camera.
You were just on the edge of I was wondering.
I didn't mean to throw you off.
I thought you were giving me a hand, like a thumbs up. Nice point, Kiernan.
No, I was just playing with the camera.
You were just memeing with the camera.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, once Spectre's Cowl comes through, the sustain starts to go up through the roof. You know, you aren't going to be as bothered about the magic damage coming out from Tolkien. But pre that point in time, Tolkien should be able to maintain pressure against Maokai. He's still a melee champion, which Kennen will thrive into. The only issue for Kennen is that he does become a target for a gank quite effectively. He's going to be overextending, putting pressure onto Maokai. Maokai can easily turn it around with a twisted advance, and in comes Tyrion, and they pick up a kill. So I think that's something Tolkien's going to have to be aware of. But it is another kind of odd draft phase coming out from XL. You know, it's this composition that we kind of classically know XL for. This is a little bit more meta than previous. You know, that would have been a Z last time, and I'd have been like, whoa. But this time it's a little bit more meta than previously.
Yep.
You know, you can see where they're trying to go here. They've got a good hard engage with Civ and Nami. You follow that up with Kennen, and then any form of CC going down, and Rise just runs in and goes wham, 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 bam. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, and I'm interested as well by the sheer contrast between the two mid laners right now. You got Lucchesi on Rise, who typically you're more in almost a split push role, and then you do come into team fights, but you've got to play it very, very carefully. It's very difficult to play Rise effectively in a team fight, whereas Orianna, pretty much the exact opposite of that, where you absolutely thrive in a team fight situation, but you would never really send Orianna off into a split push unless they were just super far ahead and for some reason was running teleport and such like. But realistically, Orianna, full-on teamfight champion.
Yeah, I think you can have a role as a teamfight in Rise, but you really have to be facilitated by others. You can't run in head first and expect to do well. And this is where the facilitation from the Nami wave comes in, the Kennen ultimate comes in, because they lock people up for Rise to just then annihilate with the sheer damage output that he has. In lane, Rise used to be awful against Orianna. Like, classically, Rise would get destroyed by Orianna because he just couldn't get within range. You know, he was anytime he stepped up to deal damage, command attack, command dissonance, every single time. Now it's a little bit different with the introduction of Flux. Your ability to deal AoE damage very early on means you can actually put pressure on Orianna through minion waves. So Brixton will have to be a little bit more careful here. However, there's a great ball delivery system for Sensei. You know, you've got Maokai. He's the ultimate ball delivery system. Flash engage with the Orianna ball into command shockwave. You're absolutely laughing. And there's a lot of protection and a lot of peel for Ashe once more. And not a lot, apart from Tolkien flanks, that can really put pressure onto Inax.
No, you're absolutely right. We'll see whether Inax is going to be able to just kind of sit back throughout this series and just layer in those arrows. And that is a dangerous concept when it's an Ashe on the enemy team that's able to just constantly throw away those arrows at the opponents. And just when you get to the late game, when we get to 4 or 5 items, Ashe can just melt health bars away. And
yeah. But then Sivir can as well, and we know what Sivir can do. Again, I think a lot of this comes down to, actually, I think XL can be a little bit more aggressive with their engage than Batmani where it begins were able to. Against an Ashe, it's very important to take the initiative, to put pressure on her so that she can't be the one that fires the arrow and tries to pick somebody off. You want to be the one with Sivir ultimate, Nami ultimate, straight into Kennen putting pressure down, and then Rise runs in and annihilates everyone. That's the game plan here. That's, you know, they've got a little bit of pick with Scudzy, who we know is going to build full damage. Scudzy never builds tank, so we know that he's going to build full damage on this Elise. So Ashe will have to be careful as this game goes on. But there is mega amounts of peel for Ashe. There is mega amounts of damage reduction for the team with Maokai. You know, there is plenty of barriers for Sensei to put up that XL have to knock down time and time again to get to that one key target. And they're not even talking about that. You know, we're discounting again the fact that Brixton is on Orianna. He went off the chain last game on Orianna. I think it'll be a little bit more difficult for him to do that against Lucchesi. But realistically, your prime target will be Ashe, and then you think about the Orianna afterwards. And then you also have a very high damage jungler. There isn't really a true tank for XL. XL never run true tanks.
Yep.
They're always about that full engaged damage potential.
Absolutely. Well, we are ready to jump onto the Rift. However, as I say that, I've just been informed that there will be a pause immediately at the start of this game. So we'll not jump into the Rift just yet for you guys. Oh, I've changed my mind. I'm getting mixed signals here. But we are going to jump into Summoner's Rift after all. So here we go. XL on the blue side up against Sensei on that red side. We saw that our red team were absolutely sensational in their last best of 3. But we'll see if it's enough to excel against their blue side opponents.
Ailamau.
Great puns.
I think you've used the...
I'm just getting the low-hanging fruit out of the way so we can get into the solid commentary afterwards.
No, I totally agree.
That's good.
It'll be a regular.
Agree on this
it'll be a regular day. It'll be a bit of a day out of the office here for XL. See what I did there? Microsoft Office.
An opportunity for them.
And Rise laughed at my pun. It was great.
Not 100% sure that was a correlation there, but we will have to wait and see on this one whether Sensei can keep their zen in this matchup and really, you know, other monk puns.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit stepping outside of that dojo for them. Training is over.
Yeah.
The real tournament begins now.
And XL really going to be going outside of their usual windows. I don't know what is going on with this one. But either way, we've got...
No, I want to continue this chain.
I think Grissom is...
There's nothing else interesting to talk about. Let's continue the chain.
Issues personally.
Maybe you should get on the phone to Microsoft.
Clearly a Linux player. But, yeah, here we go. The game is going to be going once again. So, I believe Grissom back onto the map. And we'll be able to see how this one's going to pan out. But, what do you reckon, Kiernan? What do you reckon of these compositions? We're not really talked about, in general, how we think these compositions are going to be playing out across the game. Like, what's the game plan for each of these squads?
Well, game plan for XL. Get to a point where Jokerism can do enough damage from the backline. Just look for hard engages onto Ashe whenever you get the opportunity. Don't let her be the one to dictate the pace. Orcs are going to step right into Winter Spike. They managed to dodge it out, though, so it's just a volley coming out from Inax. Basically, hard engage onto the Ashe. Don't let the Ashe hard engage onto you. Use Kennen, Nami Wave to control the team fight and allow Lucchesi and Jokerism to just destroy them from the backline. Whereas, you know, for Sensei, it's going to be a lot about peeling, you know, just using Brixton, Maokai to peel for that Ashe as well as Grissom, and allowing both Brixton and Inax to just control these team fights and win them out from that backline without being under threat.
We'll see whether they're going to be able to bring those game plans into fruition here. As all in all, we've had fairly even bot lane so far. Jokerism and Orcs trying to push that wave in as fast as they possibly could, but in the end, both teams going to hit level 2 at just about the same time, so nobody getting a crazy lead off the back of that one. And you know you're a Sivir main when you own that Pack Sivir skin.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge skin to have as a Sivir main, and Jokerism does like to flaunt that every time he plays. I wish I had that skin. Playing Sivir for
it's
a
like
long...
200 quid now.
It's mega expensive, because what is it from, like, PAX about 4 years ago?
It was PAX 2012, I think.
Yeah, long time ago. The Twisted Fate was PAX 2011, I believe.
Yeah. Crazy. But either way, we've got Scudsy, who's found out Tyron. Luke's going to flash forward as well, or Lucchesi, sorry, but it is First Blood.
Scudsy's not had enough yet.
Lucchesi's way. Scudsy going for more, but I don't think that would have been a wise one.
No, that was a good reactionary play by Lucchesi. He'd pushed Brixton in enough to punish the early ganking, but did have to use both summoners there to get the kill. Used it onto Tyron just to make sure that they made sure that Scudsy was able to survive. But Scudsy reading Tyron very well here, and Tyron opting not to go for the bot lane, realizing that I think Brixton's going to need the most help against Lucchesi potentially, and this is where I think Tyron's probably going to be looking to have the most impact. But it is a nice double buff going over for Lucchesi.
Absolutely. Tolkien actually taking some serious damage from Avril up in this top lane. So, proving that Maokai is able to really take Kennen on toe-to-toe at this point, if you can find the good engage. However, Tolkien proving that it's kind of one of those where Maokai will go in, get a good bit of damage down, but then as he tries to retreat, Tolkien will layer those shuriken on and kind of even out the trade once again.
Yeah, if you get within range of Maokai, he's going to be able to trade with you, because if you get a Twisted Advance into an Arcane Smash, especially at level 5, you got 3 points in your Arcane Smash, it's almost impossible to trade with Maokai. One of the old tricks of the trade that I think Tundra taught me, if you're playing a Maokai into Irelia, she can't trade with you as long as you hit a level 3 Arcane Smash onto her. And it's the same with almost every matchup for Maokai. As long as you land that ability, it's very difficult for people to trade, because you get a Twisted Advance into Arcane Smash, you get the Grasp of the Undying, and also your regen from your passive. Super difficult to try and trade into that.
Absolutely. I think Maokai is just one of those champions that's very difficult to trade with anyway, because even if you win the trade, he has so much sustain that he can afford to lose that HP, and unless you actually make the trade matter enough for him to be forced back to base, unfortunately, it won't be enough. And we'll see whether that is going to be the case up in the top lane. So far, Tolkien doing a very good job, 6 CS ahead of his opponent. We'll see whether he can keep that one up. Actually going to go back to base, so I'm curious to see whether he'll just teleport straight back in here and try and continue the farm, or whether he'll hold on to that ability.
Probably hold on to it, because Maokai is not pressuring his turret, and holding on to it could be impactful at level 6, especially if Avril doesn't have his, and Tolkien is almost level 6. So that could be a huge impact in a bot lane fight, for instance, or even trying to make something happen around the dragon. Looks like Scudsy has seen Brixton.
Yeah, Brixton with a nice cleanse, though. pulls himself to safety. Actually, yeah, I didn't even notice. I'm not sure how I didn't notice the flash there, but will be able to get himself to safety in the end. So surviving that situation. And I think Scudsy realizing that Brixton is someone that they have to put pressure on when he's got that Orianna.
Yeah, but also, I think, Scudsy really reflecting what I think Tyron's game plan is going to be, which is obviously put pressure onto Brixton in the mid lane. Oh. Looks like going to be an engage.
Avril stunned up here, up in the top lane. He is level 6, but is that going to be enough? Flash forced out from him as well. There is a lot of damage coming on through. One more auto is not quite enough. He survives somehow. The repel doesn't follow through from Scudsy. And Avril just narrowly survives. Lucchesi now in trouble. He's trying to burst down Brixton, but doesn't have the damage. Almost teleports away, but Brixton finishes him off.
Teleports? Oh, with the realm walk, yeah. Goodness, I was looking for the
animation started. It was like a split second away from getting away.
Yeah, he was so close. But you know, Rise, he is a target when he's lost those summoner spells. And Tyron again, the game plan true and strong. Go into that mid lane, put pressure onto Lucchesi, try and give Brixton an easier laning phase. But I've got to say, Lucchesi hasn't really stepped up the pressure onto Orianna. Orianna is one of those mid lane champions that if you put pressure on, she will just shield, and she has a better sustain in terms of like blank shielding than most other mid lane carries. But good pressure by Scudsy to pick off some flashes in both the mid lane and the top lane. Now he needs to capitalize. And speak for a difference, bot lane has been the island here for this game, and it looks like, well, Jokerism should come out on top in CS. He did back a little bit earlier than Inax and picked up that Cull and BF sword, so going to then start to push ahead of Inax in this lane in particular. Also got to give note that Inax hasn't gone for Cull. He's instead gone for a dagger, so really not prioritizing or sort of favoring that particular build path.
Yeah. You want to know a fun fact about Orianna?
Yeah.
The scaling on her shield is actually horrendous, and AP Lee Sin actually has better scaling shield.
That's crazy.
Insane.
Fun fact, but I guess her shield also does damage if you do manage to pull the ball through.
That is true. And also, it's a very low cooldown, so it would actually be broken if it was scaled well.
Yeah. I'm going to also pay dividends to, again, the fantastic vision control coming out from Sensei, but look at them. Look at the defensive vision control that's gone into their red side jungle. 3 pinks defending their red side jungle because of how aggressive Scudsy was earlier on. That is going to free up a lot of vision control for the side of the jungle for XL. But look how adaptive they are being with their game plan. They realize that Scudsy wants to be aggressive, and what they're going to do is just say, well, no, if you want to get into that red side jungle, we're going to know exactly where you are.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is going to mean that actually Sensei's ward coverage has been pushed down into this bottom side as well. We do have one nice deep ward from XL over at that blue buff from Sensei, but certainly in terms of vision game, Sensei, they're the ones with the lead, but in terms of gold, completely even, and both mid laners, they're going to be the ones with those kills at this stage. But across the board, an incredibly close run game on every single lane.
Absolutely. Jokerism now starting to struggle. You can see Orcs doesn't really want to take these fights at this point in time. Jokerism really needs to pick up some extra gold in the bank before he becomes this threatening Sivir. At this point, probably not going to be able to trade effectively without a gank. That blue ward may pay off for Scudsy now, who looks like he's trying to be as aggressive as possible here.
Yeah, won't be able to punish Brixton though, and does pick up
vision,
his own.
They're responding with some really deep vision of their own, Joe, and looks like they are stepping up against Sensei than they did previously. You know, I criticised them in the last best of 3, where XL's vision control just wasn't good enough against Sensei, but it looks like this. I mean, look at that river and blue side jungle for XL. Just wards absolutely everywhere, and XL seem to understand that this is really important against Sensei.
Absolutely, and that river completely blue, and I'm not talking about the water, but here we go. Tyron coming into the bottom lane. We do have Scudsy on his way down as well. This could get messy for these two teams. Here we go, Jokerism in trouble. Does spell shield, but there's a knock up onto Orcs. A lot of damage comes on through, but he flashes himself to safety, and actually flash has to come from Grissom, but Scudsy has locked out Inax. He's in the worst possible position and will end up going down here. Jokerism to finish that one off. In the meantime, Lucchesi came down. It's 2 kills going the way of XL.
Hey, Joe, do you know why that happened? Because of the ridiculously good vision control that XL just set up on that blue side jungle against Tyron. Absolutely no way they would have set up for that had they not maintained excellent vision control. Lucchesi's going to get ulted.
Yeah, Lucchezi's in trouble right now. Brixton using that shockwave just to lay it on the pressure in this mid lane. As you saw there, level 6 ultimate from Orianna really doesn't do that much damage. It's more about the crowd control, but it's still a very short cooldown, even at its first level.
Yeah, he's they're going to get the first dragon in the game here, which I believe was Ocean or Cloud Drake. It was Cloud Drake, so Cloud Drake's going to be picked off here. Honestly, super impressed with that play from XL. That vision control paid dividends for them, and they get that early advantage and are rewarded for it.
Yeah, they certainly are. Meowkai going back up to the top lane. I absolutely love that skin. Such a silly skin, but I adore it. But
Picked up the
Tyrant
Spectre's cow as well.
Coming down to this bottom lane, looking to get some pressure onto this tower. Inax and Grissom going to be here as well, just trying to finish off those minions and push some damage out, but they're not going to be able to be too successful in terms of that. Brixton, in the meantime, look how much damage he's getting out onto these players. Just that command attack into dissonance combo is just so deadly.
It's actually more effective to do that now because there isn't the delay period between using command attack and command dissonance anymore. You can actually just go straight in and it combos and queues up more effectively so that it's actually done mid-animation.
Well, Brixton actually out of mana on this one, and that means he will lose out a trade to Lucchezi. It means he probably has to go back to base fairly soon. Does have his lost chapter, so will have a decent amount of mana regeneration, but without blue buff, does need to be careful. It's also incredibly low, so I would certainly recommend going back to base.
Don't be afraid, Brixton. I think Lucchezi's just trying to say howdy.
He just wants to be a friendly friend on this one. Nice shield comes out there. Just about an even trade. And actually Shockwave comes through, but immediately flashed away. So both mid laners using their flash there.
Yeah, I mean, Brixton tried to make that play to get Tyrant set up for an engage, but flash for flash, and Orianna probably becomes a little bit more vulnerable without her flash, and it's going to allow Lucchezi to put pressure on. Tyrant used... trying to put a lot of pressure on Vision once more across this river. Ashe did use her arrow to try and pick off Lucchezi, but what didn't happen, I think, the way Ashe would have wanted, and just sailed on past and allowing Lucchezi to put pressure onto that mid lane turret. But look, deep vision coming out from Scudsy. It is like for like in terms of vision control, and you would even argue that XL have been doing a better job of it. And that's something that I've been thoroughly impressed with from their performance last game, but it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a tango in the red side jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucchezi now looking to take away a couple of these Razor Beaks if he can. And then just going to head straight on back to this mid lane. He's not looking fantastic for mana though, so Brixton will be able to walk into that lane fairly confidently and just look to try and regain some control. But across the board, this is still a very close game in terms of CS. There's a 1,000 goal lead for XL, but really nothing too crazy. With 13 minutes into the game, last game, there was about an 8,000 goal lead at this stage. So really a tiny gap comparatively, but Tolkien has started to build up a 15 CS lead in that top lane as well.
Yeah, this is very close between the two right now. Only that small gank turnaround in the bot lane. Looks like Tyrion now making his way down. A good ward will spot him out, by the way.
Yeah, certainly will. And I think just trying to get some pressure onto this tower at this stage. They realized that Scudsy was up on the top side of the map. I think he walked through those wards that are in river, and immediately they react by trying to pressure this tower down. Lucchezi heading on his way down, though. I don't think the tower ended up getting too low in the end.
I think actually first tower did end up going over to XL as well. I think that was Tolkien picking that one up in the top lane. So the pressure now not as needed as much. I think the real pressure for Tyrion was there to try and take that first tower off the board. And unfortunately, I think, how recently was that first tower taken?
Tolkien got it maybe a couple of minutes ago. It was before Tyrion had gone down to
well, then it doesn't matter. I guess they were just trying to respond like for like. I guess I don't know why you'd want to put that much pressure on, like literally just showing yourself on the map without trying to gank, without trying to take first tower, because it's just not as worth it. But they got a lot of damage onto it, but it has resulted in a lot of pressure going back onto the mid lane, and Jokerism and Orcs now able themselves to just try and farm their way back in. They should, if they go back now, potentially lose the turret. It really depends on how quickly Inax is going to push it, but they might be able to respond in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are going to see now that actually this is a very, very slow game between these two teams. And I think that just shows how close these teams both know that it is. Like, neither one wants to make a ridiculous play. Nobody wants to disrespect their opponent because they know that the second they do, they will be punished. And both teams going to be more than willing to do that. XL have managed to accrue themselves a 3,000 gold lead as well as a Cloud Drake for themselves. And now 1 minute until the next Drake spawns, it is going to be another Cloud Drake. So XL potentially could get themselves a pretty hefty movement speed bonus. Grissom does get caught up by a bubble, but Scudzy exhausted immediately on that fight. Lucchesi is going to realm walk in, and Brixton incredibly low. Nice shield from him, but it's not going to save his jungler. And that's the Hextech belt to take him out in the end. And there we have it. Hextech Proto Belt even. But this is going to be a mid lane tower in a whole heap of trouble. Absolutely,
but Inax has responded. This is going to give cause for Jokerism to push this bot lane up as heavily as possible, start pressuring it himself. Teleport is going to be forced to come through from Maokai just to protect this mid lane.
Yeah, I feel like Avril maybe could have done with teleporting into that fight and just trying to make a difference in that scenario, but I think there was maybe a huge minion wave for him to collect or something along those lines. But Jokerism finally pushing up to this tower. Avril actually kind of caught out on this one. Scudzy pushing forwards, and the bubble will immediately force that flash out of Avril. So nice little Aqua Prison coming out from Orcs.
Yeah, XL have turned the heat up here. One could even say they've evolved into XL PowerPoint. That made no sense. But I know, you're looking at me like, what the hell was that? I don't know what it was either. It looks like the next Drake is going to be taken away here by XL. It is another Cloud Drake, I believe. Yep. Definitely getting my symbols right this time.
Good job.
So movement speed galore, which is fantastic in a Sivir composition because obviously you get increased percentage movement speed with Sivir Ultimate now. So the more movement speed you have from Cloud Drake, the better it is for your ultimate. And that is going to mean that their ability to hard engage will be accentuated only further, which will be fantastic for them. Really need to focus down that mid lane tower soon, though, because they want to start expanding their vision control. I've been thoroughly impressed with the way they responded to Sensei's vision control, and Sensei have had to respond with, you know, taking all of their vision and shoving it deep into their side jungle, which means that until that mid lane's taken, XL won't be able to effectively clear those pink wards out. They are almost doing nothing, because XL probably won't find themselves in that position too often until that mid lane tower does go down. Lucchesi.
Yeah, 1v1 in the mid lane between the two AP Majors. Lucchesi out of mana though, so needs to be a little bit careful. Orcs has arrived on the scene though, and there was Grissom just waiting in the wings in case it had kicked off a little bit harder. But all in all, a just about even trade between the two.
Yeah, someone's going to go bot and deal with the push coming out from Maokai. Tolkien does have teleport if needed, but he's not going to use it just yet.
Well, Avril has pushed up to that tower, but Scudzy will arrive just to clear away those minions and get himself, or keep his tower alive, more importantly.
He's going for the Hextech Proto Belt as well, so again, classic Scudzy build, kind of defensive, but not really.
Definitely not. Definitely.
I mean, you've got a little bit of health from the Hextech Proto Belt and a little bit of cooldown reduction, but for the most part, not defensive.
For the most part, just AP.
Yeah, for the most part, just AP.
We'll see how that's going to pan out for him. Obviously, there are scenarios where he could be punished pretty heavily for that, and especially when you look at their composition, it is a very, very squishy composition. But Avril could be in trouble here. There's no could about it. He is in trouble. There's a Cocoon landing onto him. Red buff will tick down, and Tolkien will be donated this kill as well. The healing does come out, but in the end, it will be finished off. Orcs just about flashes himself to safety there as they try and return the favour in the mid lane.
I was thinking, were we going to see an Ash Arrow coming out just to try and punish the fact that two members from XL had just appeared bot lane, but they weren't able to do so. They did try and punish onto Orcs. Tyrant does manage to dodge out of that bubble, but they are looking to make a play happen here, and they're trying to focus onto Lucchesi, but he does dodge that arrow with ease, and the Sivir ultimate.
Look at the positioning right now. We have a massive tidal wave. It only lands onto Brixton, but he's completely out of mana. They don't have their AP carry. Tolkien comes in with the slicing maelstrom, and that's immediately two of them going down. Realm Walk comes through as well, but it doesn't achieve anything extra. But right now, they could look to... Herald's about to top himself, so not going to be able to grab that one. But Baron would be up in 15 seconds.
Such a nice way of saying it, Joe. What we should say...
used to just pop up on the kill feed.
What we should say is he's about to make his
returns to the void.
Painful journey back to the void, which unfortunately results in the loss of his life.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, Scudzy gonna claim that giant frog away from Tyrant.
The more and more I think about it, the more and more I love this Kennen pick into the Ashe. It's very difficult to isolate an Ashe with anybody, but Kennen makes it very easy. You know, just jump straight in, land that ultimate. Ashe can't really escape, especially without cleanse or QSS. And she instantaneously becomes a target for both Scudzy and Lucchesi. And Scudzy's going to blow her up because he's built that kind of build that he's just going to blow up an Ashe. And this is just XL in a nutshell. They just go ham, like, every single time. I think that's how they caught Eminem off guard in the first game. Or the second game. I can't remember which game they actually won. I think it was the first.
It was the first, yeah.
I think that's how they caught Eminem off guard. They literally just went ham.
Well, I think it was... The game that they won was Jokerism's Varus, right? So I think as well it was just a matter of, like, Eminem were pretty much saying, like, what on earth is going on?
Varus, really? I guess into a Jhin, that has always been XL's pocket pick, so...
Yeah. Varus has actually been picked up a couple of times at Worlds as well.
Yeah.
Now, so we have seen that, but it's mostly been in the mid lane rather than in that AD carry role. But either way, Aqua Prism not quite gonna land, or Prison, sorry, not Prism. But Orcs looking for those opportunities, unfortunately not able to find it in that scenario.
Nami's really good against Braum, and it's something that I didn't really pick up on. If you use your Unbreakable as Braum and you block the Nami bubble, you just get bubbled. So there's a larger area radius to get knocked up in the bubble by, which is something that you have to consider as a Braum, because if you're going to block that against your AD carry, you're probably going to get focused down. So it's maybe the reason why you saw a lot of bans for Nami come through, because Braum was going to be a prioritization, and generally speaking, Nami does more than okay, does pretty well into Braum.
Well, we'll see if that pick is going to continue to work out for them, because so far, Sensei have only managed to get a singular kill on the board, and right now, XL are really starting to run away with things. They've got themselves an 8,000 gold lead, as well as a couple of dragons to be working with. And now they're just setting up basically a 1-3-1 split push. They're just sending 3 players to the mid lane, the AD carry, support, and jungler. Then Lucchesi comes to the bottom lane, and just Tolkien continues to pressure in the top lane. However, rotation coming on through from the rest of XL, and they're looking maybe towards this dragon that's about to spawn.
I think anytime they can force a fight for XL, they should, because they are ahead by a considerable margin. They have a very good team fight that seems to be trumping that of Sensei right now. And I actually don't think that their split push is going to be fantastic. I don't know how much pressure Tolkien's going to be able to put against Avril, who's built a shed ton of magic resist. I mean, he's got literally no armor. And
the thing is about Maokai as well, he's always been that pick that basically goes, I am going to sit in this side lane, and there is no way for you to push against me. I can one-shot a minion wave, even though I'm building full tank, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And also you need to exploit the fact that Maokai is so vulnerable to Jokerism right now. I mean, he's got no armor.
Yep.
Literally zero. Lucchesi gets locked up.
Yeah, he certainly does. There's a shockwave as well, and well, that's how you stop a split push, I think. Both carries just collapse on him.
And now this could be a loss of a Drake, but I think Scudzy's already on it, so he's going to be able to take that away. Doesn't smite it correctly, but it doesn't matter. Death for a Drake's not the worst trade in the world, but honestly, XL need to force fights. You know, they're not going to get anywhere with this split push. And Brixton is going to clear waves for days, and I don't think that Tolkien is going to find it easy to split push against Avril.
And that's the first Mountain Drake of the day as well.
Wow.
We've not seen a singular Mountain Drake today aside from that one. That is going to increase their siege damage. So when they start to look for these towers, and that could actually be fairly important for them, because looking at their composition, they don't really have that good of a siege. It's more of a, like, all-in, force them away from tower, and then take the tower.
Exactly. Look at this, taking a lot of damage now is Braum. Grissom going to be forced away with that red buff. Inax now, doing his best, scouting things out. But the more time that they give over to the Ashe, the better it will be here for Sensei. They need to make sure that XL keep up this pressure. It's something that we have criticized them for in the past. They get this rolling lead, they start to run away with things, and then they don't know how to capitalize on it.
Avril continuing to just push away in that top lane. I did kind of tell a lie earlier when I said he'll just be able to one-shot minion waves. Obviously, he's not gone for that old-school Rod of Ages build on Maokai.
Not many people do these days.
No, so doesn't actually have that same ability to just clear the waves instantly, but still does a lot of damage to them and is just going to be an absolute pain in that side lane, especially when the split push comes on through. But the gold gap closed ever so slightly. Only going to be about, well, it's still about 8,000 really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe it hasn't closed at all, but one thing I would say is looking at the compositions, I think when we get to the super late game, compositionally, this actually looks really, really close. I mean, you've got both Orianna and Ashe, who turn into absolute monsters when you get into that super late game scenario when everyone's got like 6 items. But then you've got things like Sivir and Ryze on the enemy team. It's a similar scenario. They're more based on actually catching people out, but if they do, they can just immediately win the game off of it.
No, absolutely. And this is why I want XL to maintain this pressure, because if they have any chance of capitalizing on the advantage that they have, it's just by continually applying pressure to Ashe before she gets to a point where she is untouchable in the backline. You know, that peel will step up for Sensei. They've got Maokai, they've got Brixton. If he can land a 4-man shockwave as everyone's trying to barrel in on Ashe, Ashe turns things around and just one-shots people, as we know that Ashe can do essentially with her basic attacks. You know, that's going to be a real spanner in the works. XL look like they're trying to gear up for Baron, though, which could be a sensible idea, trying to bring them towards that kind of area. I actually think Tolkien should do as little split pushing as possible versus Avril, because he's going to be in a really terrible position where he's never going to be able to actually pressure this Maokai now because of the amount of magic resist that Maokai has actually ended up picking up.
Well, a little bit of a battle for vision control going on right now, but Sensei winning out. Sensei, it's fair to say, are definitely on the back foot in this game right now. And actually, we're going to see Baron started off by XL here. Wards will go over the wall, though. And in fact, it's Brixton spotting that one out with his... what do you even call that other than ball? Does it actually have a name? I don't think it does.
Probably her ball.
Yeah.
Spotting things out with her ball.
Yep. Well, it does deny the Baron, though. That's the important thing.
Yeah, the Ashe arrow was used, but because Scudsy took so much damage, there wasn't really a way for XL to capitalize, and Tolkien didn't feel comfortable teleporting in. They didn't have any deep wards to make a flank play, because, again, Sensei's so keen on maintaining vision control with those pinks. I mean, you saw how hard Grissom fought to get that pink control over the red side brush area. And XL seems stuck in the rut right now. They don't really know what to do with themselves, and they're slowly starting to lose that gold advantage that they have.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous situation for them as well. When you look at their composition, it kind of relies on pushing an advantage in the mid game. You know, you don't have a tank, so if we do get into any kind of drawn-out team fights, just having damaged champions isn't necessarily the best thing, because if someone does get locked up, they will just get deleted, and that will just turn into a snowball for Sensei. I have to see if that is going to be the case, though. Obviously, XL still significantly ahead.
Look at this again. They absolutely dominant control of this red side jungle for Sensei. It's just meaning that Tolkien's never going to get a super awesome flank that he would potentially want. Even with this Void Staff, just has nothing on the amount of magic resist that Avril has started to stack up as well, with that health that he's also picked up too. Slowly starting to win this push, but it's taken a good 3 minutes for this to happen for Tolkien. They can't afford 3 minutes every time they want to push a lane.
I am curious to see... Okay, he's going to be looking towards a Randuin. So I was about to say what he turns that Giant's Belt into, but looks like he is going to start to stack up some armor, and I think rightly so at this point. As when you look at the lineup from XL, obviously there is a lot of magic damage. I think he was right to just stack magic resist to start things off, but once we get towards the team fights, he does have to worry about Jokerism as well. Who, let's just quickly point out the fact that Jokerism, on 300 CS at 28 minutes into the game, the guy is farming up an absolute storm, and now they're starting to pressure onto this mid lane.
Jokerism, they can't arrow Jokerism because they are just going to expect him to, obviously... Oh, in comes Lucchesi. They're going to try and put pressure onto Maokai here.
Yeah, but it's all magic damage, and he has Vengeful Maelstrom, which absorbs magic damage. He has an absolute boatload of MR and will be able to survive. Did have to use his flash in the end. Grissom comes to his rescue. But all in all, I feel like they committed a lot to try and finish off that Maokai, but it was never going to be enough.
No, but what it has allowed them to do is potentially pressure that tier 2 in the bot lane. Maybe we see Avril use that teleport as a last-ditch resort, but he's just going to walk straight down.
Tyrant, please.
Tyrant, please.
Just cues onto the tower. Ooh, flash out of Lucchesi. Manages to dodge away from the crystalline arrow from Inax, the god. We'll see. I mean, a couple of ultimates going to be on cooldown now. That should slow things down just a little bit in case they weren't slow enough in this game. But another dragon going to be going the way of XL here. They're going to be able to find themselves a second Mountain Drake. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, that the next Drake of the game is going to be that Elder Dragon. And that is not a scenario that Sensei really wants to entertain.
Neither do XL, though. It's a very difficult dragon to take off the map. However, with 2 Mountain Drakes already there, both their Baron and Elder Dragon taking potentials will be up as well. So Baron will be very quick and short work for them. They tried to catch Tyrion out. That could have been Baron straight off the cards here. Going to really make good use of that pink ward and going to eventually take out another ward here, clear up that Baron vision. And game just seems really stale for XL right now. They're struggling to know where to really apply pressure. It's a 3-item Jokerism though, however, he has got that Cull in hand still, ready to sell it off when he needs that extra bit of gold.
Yeah, but I've got to say though, I feel like Ashe just scales better with items, right? Like, Sivir obviously is terrifying once you get to that 4-item spike, but it never feels like that one extra item or half an extra item is going to be enough of a lead to just negate the enemy AD carry in the same way as some other ADs.
Yeah, I think both of them scale well off basic attacks. I think they both have function in different ways. I think with a red buff, I'd probably favour Sivir in a teamfight situation over Ashe because of her mobility and her ability to block ability with that spell shield. But Ashe obviously has better teamfight control in general. But we've seen what these guys can do with their items. Actually, I don't think Sensei are going to get fooled here. Jokerism actually just managed to get away from Brixton.
Yeah, interestingly, actually having to use a pink there as well. Jokerism dodges away
It's
from
be a tough 50-50
arrow. I don't think they're going to go for the 50-50, and I think that's the correct decision to make right there, to be quite honest. And in the end, just going to have to settle for that Scuttle Crab. Tolkien maybe in trouble up in this top lane. The magic resist is paying off. Avril still basically at full HP. Will lock up Tolkien. Just needs another arcane smash. Doesn't actually land it onto his target. And there's a flash from Tolkien. Little bit of a misplay from Avril, and it means the Yordle will escape with his life.
Can't split push anymore. You just can't split push against this Maokai. You have to try and either be in the other lane or trying to flank for XL at this point in time. Has to be Tolkien's gameplay. You just don't have the AP in the bag. He looks like... Oh, I love this. He's going for Blade of the Ruined King. How clever is that coming out from Tolkien, saying, I've got the AP I need, I've got the Zhonya's, I've got the Void Staff, now I'm going Blade of the Ruined King because I need it to deal with Maokai. Yep.
He's basically saying, like, look, I can't 1v1 Maokai right now, but
soon, TM.
Yeah, if I itemize correctly. I've got to say, though, I don't like the fact that he's built up contributing factors toward the Blade of the Ruined King. I would have liked him to save up enough gold, buy it, and then use it as a surprise. Maybe actually look for a 1v1 kill using that item.
Absolutely. I've just accidentally slowed down my feed, so I'm just going to speed that one back up.
If you press J, it jumps to live, my friend.
J, it jumped. Wow.
There you go. Hashtag spectate knowledge. Here we go. 8-2, still the score right now. XL managed to pull out this lead very early on in the game, but ever since, they've been struggling to turn it into anything more. Even with this AD right now, Tolkien really struggling to get any of this harass to just stick to his opponent, but Scudzy once again starting off this Baron. Him and Lucchesi are more than happy to try and threaten that one. The knockup comes through, but it gets stolen away. No, Lucchesi actually got it in the end. He's traded for a kill. So not ideal right there for the likes of Sensei. And well, with a Baron in their hands, that is going to make Avril's life a little bit harder.
Yeah, he won't be able to clear those waves nearly as effectively. It also means that Lucchesi's split push will be a little bit stronger as well. Tough game, though, for XL. This has been a very strong, dominant start for them. Again, they're finding themselves in this awkward situation where they're not quite sure how to capitalize on the game. Blade of the Ruined King is now available. Is Avril going to get caught off by this?
I'll have to wait and see. Immediately backs away, just going to allow that minion wave to be cleared on out here. Look at that attack speed now as well because of the Blade of the Ruined King. I'm curious to see how Avril reacts to this. Obviously already has a Randuin's for himself. I'm curious what his next item is going to be. Already has a Negatron Cloak though. Potentially looking at an Abyssal Scepter just to try and increase his damage slightly. We'll have to wait and see though. This one.
Brixton's picked up a Rabadon's now. His damage is insane. And Jokerism he's yet to prioritize any form of magic resist. Really relying on that spell shield to either block the shockwave or the dissonance, I think. But then if that gets locked up by Winter's Bite, or if that gets locked up by the Ash Arrow, for instance, then there's going to be a lot of damage and a lot of pain coming down onto him. I don't know if Avril's completely realized that Blade of the Ruined King is actually now on Tolkien.
That's actually made such a difference in these trades as well. That's fantastic stuff coming out from Tolkien. He's now actually able to go toe-to-toe. There's a flash from Avril actually in the end. Will get locked up and will get finished off. Lucchesi came to save the day as well. In the meantime, XL are pushing in the top lane. They've suddenly put their foot down onto the accelerator, but Lucchesi's been caught out. Look at the damage out of Brixton through the exhaust. He does not care. Picks up a solo kill.
4-1. Brixton again, 100% of kills. Right now, Jokerism does block out the Glacial Fissure coming out from Braum. People don't seem to respect Brixton's damage output on this Orianna. Time and time again, they kind of just walk right up into his face and don't expect him to just pull the trigger. And every single time he does.
Certainly does. He is a wanton gunman at the moment, pulling the trigger on anyone that comes nearby. And that is going to be cleared away in the end, as Trid pointing out the basing on a ward. I believe they called it out to the teammate though, but shout outs to Trid, our observer, over sat the other side of the room, giggling away to himself. But here we go, teleport actually.
They're going to go for this, they're just going straight for this Elder Drake.
Looking for the Elder Drake, looking for a team fight, but they've got a Tolkien over towards their right hand side. Slicing Maelstrom will not be available though, so they do have to be a little bit careful on this one. Avril can tank this basically indefinitely, but look at the poke coming out from both sides right now. Brixton, he's got to be the carry for this teamfight. Tyrant on this front line getting incredibly low, almost getting taken down. Scudzy will be the first one to drop. Grissom just about getting to the back line.
Incoming
Here
Tolkien!
comes Inax though. It is going to get finished off. No, survives somehow. There's a shield from Brixton as well. And in fact, it's 3 versus 3 still. Aqua Prison doesn't quite land. The carry's surviving, but Brixton gets the shield at the last second. Lucchesi will finish him off. And now Avril will get chunked on out by Jokerism. This is going to be a fight for XL.
Gets him!
Flash comes through. Double kill for Lucchesi. And XL barrel towards the bottom lane inhibitor.
This is a story straight out of Tolkien's books. The 2 towers no more as they start to crumble here for XL. And they're going to pick up an inhibitor for their worth as well. I mean, fantastic play right there. Just to consistently apply pressure to the Elder Drake, which is a very difficult objective to take. People don't realize how difficult it is to take Elder Dragon off the map for free.
It's so tanky, but the towers are not going to be. Grissom doing his very best just to keep this game going. Tyrant will respawn. Can they hold on to their Nexus? It's getting incredibly low. Grissom, Aqua Prison, Jokerism just finishes off Tyrant, and that is going to be the ace again, as well as the game. XL are going to take the lead in this series 1-0 over Sensei.
Fantastic game from XL. Finally found that key, and it was Blade of the Ruined King on the cannon. That